Morning, folks. We're going to start in just one moment here. This is Mike. We'll be ready to start in just 1 minute. Good morning, everyone. This is Mike Clark. I'd like to welcome you to today's DBA virtual chapter meeting. Today's topic is going to be BI infrastructure in the cloud. Our speaker today is the one and only Paresh. Paresh and I have been working together now on this actual virtual group for about the last year. So today's is going to prove to be a very good, entertaining, and energetic meeting. And once again, my name is Mike Clark. I will be the moderator for today. And if you guys are fellow Twitter folks, you can follow us on pass_DBA_virtual_VC on Twitter. This online organization is this virtual group is part of the parent organization called PASS, Professional Association for SQL Server. That's how it used to be known as. Now it's just straight PASS. We welcome you today. We're an online community as well as we're a virtual community as well as a physical community. Today we're enjoying the physical aspects of it. These groups are online and they're free to all of us, but we do need sponsors to help fund and support the technology that allows us to bring this to pass. So we want to thank very much both Quest and SUSE for their support for the DBA virtual chapter. They've been good partners for the past year or so, and we appreciate their support. Something new this year is PASS wants to get your feedback. So if you could please go to surveymonkey.com and the link is here, PASS 2018 feedback, and complete the survey. You'll be in a pool to win a $150 gift certificate. This is a good way for PASS to get information from folks like us on how they're doing and how they can improve PASS, because it's anything that we work with, we have to continually improve it and make it relevant, and continue to just make things better for the customers. One of the other things that PASS supports is SQL Saturdays. It's kind of how it sounds if you're not familiar with it. It's SQL Server on all day on a Saturday, so to speak. And so they're around the world. There's upcoming ones in US, EMEA, and Latin America. It's the time of year where SQL Saturdays start to wane out because of the busy holiday schedule, but there's one coming up in December 8th. It seems to be the popular date. So if you're anywhere near these locations, you can go to SQLSaturday.com and register and see for each of these, for any of the events that are near your house, or if you can convince your company to have you travel. This online organization that you're into today is a DBA virtual group. There are many other groups out there. If you have other likes and interests, whether it's a specific language like Spanish or Italian or Russian or Hebrew, there's meetings in those languages as well as technical topics as well. In-memory databases, performance, virtualization. And today we're actually going to be hearing a bit from the business intelligence side, but from a DBA perspective. So we're going to be kind of merging a couple of those today. If you're not a member of PASS, it is free. It is a good way to kind of network and get to know other folks in our field. It's a good way also to, I think, to grow your career. It's a chance to meet other folks and talk industry topics, as well as career growth, as well as company growth. If you wanted to venture out and start your own business, there's a lot of good folks that have that kind of content as well. So it is a great opportunity to meet and greet and get to know some other folks in the same field as us. I have to personally say that some of my closest friends that I've had have come from the PASS organization, and a few of my jobs have come from those that I've met through the past organization as well. So it's a great opportunity to learn technical knowledge, to learn ways to improve ourselves, but also just to get to meet some great folks and work alongside them in life. There's other ways. If you go to pass.org, there's many ways to stay connected to the community. So I encourage you to go to pass.org. Everything pretty much starts with pass.org for our SQL Server life. But back to today's topic specifically. Today we are going to cover the BI infrastructure in the cloud, and Paresh has a ton of experience in this arena. He's an Azure enthusiast. He's a manager up in the Boston area. He's done many large SQL implementations and migrations and upgrades. He's been involved with pretty large OLTP databases. As he and I had dinner up in Seattle at PASS a few weeks ago, he's got a lot of energy. He seems to be able to do everything, right? And we can read his list here. He's involved in many different kind of organizations. He's a great speaker, and so he's involved with things outside of SQL Server itself. He's into mentoring, which I think is really great. He mentors other DBAs as well as kids. So at this point, I'd like to turn today's meeting over to Paresh, and he'll be able to continue. So Paresh.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, and I'm going to show them something that you haven't seen either, so be prepared. And we want to, so let me know when I can start sharing my screen.
You should be able to start now.
Yep. Okay. I'm sure everybody can see my screen now.
Yes, I see it.
Okay, beautiful. So we had about 146 people registered, and that's pretty cool, actually. I'm very happy. So thanks, folks, for coming and spending your Wednesday afternoon lunchtime with me. The first disclaimer is this is not a technical presentation, so a lot of people are kind of semi-heartbroken, shattered when they see this is not a technical session, because to be able to show you even one slide, I can have one entire 1 hour session just on each of the couple of slides that I have there. For example, just setting up the SSRS can be one whole session in itself. So this is basically giving you an idea. So if you are like a developer or a manager or somebody who wants to see what a bird's eye view looks like for your infrastructure. So I lead the team of DBAs here in Nuance, and I speak at a lot of events myself. This is what I wanted to show you guys. So let me see if I can do this. So that's my friend Mike. That's our friend Julie. And that's me. And I think that is Julie's husband.
Yes, that's Julie.
Sharon Dooley. I never knew the name of this gentleman. So we had lunch, as Mike said, at dinner a few weeks back when we were at the summit. It was a Thursday evening. So, but nice to meet these people, especially Sharon and Julie, with whom I've been working for so many years. I had never once seen them, so it was nice to be able to see them. So, okay, now how do I go back from here? Click on the next slide. Non-drawing mode. Okay. So, oh, I have to erase all the drawings too. Dang. Okay. So this is my contact information, folks, for those who are interested. If you're too lazy to note down my name and number and everything, you can just scan this QR code and you will live happily ever after. Definitely, if you are online, do tweet about Paresh Motiwala and past DBA virtual chapter. It actually encourages us a lot, and people have increasing participation. Okay, somebody is there. Okay, so I'm not taking any questions till you ask me, okay? He has a question about Microsoft tried to offer SSRS as a service in several years ago. Okay,
yeah,
so
when a question comes up, I'll interject.
Okay, cool. Thanks, man. So that's just a quick intro. My family, my daughter, she's a doctor. She got married earlier this year. That's my son-in-law. He's also a doctor. That's my wife. We are married 31 years now. Yeah, thank God to her. Otherwise, it would have been a trouble. That's my son. He's 21. And we're just about to drink our first alcohol together in our vacation in Mexico next month. Also, one of the things that I do is I mentor children and I teach them public speaking and debating skills and group discussion skills. So this is one of the class that I just finished a couple of months back. So a few more things apart from what Mike had said, that yes, I'm a DBA manager. These are the 4 leadership chapters for me. And I also organize Boston SQL Saturday, Boston BI SQL Saturday, Providence SQL Saturday, Global Azure Boot Camp, all in Boston area, of course. Providence is about 50 miles south of Boston. So, and I speak at SQL Saturdays, PASS, SQL Rally, User Group, Global Azure Boot Camps, Boston Code Camp. And guess what? This year I was the Speaker Idol finalist. So they chose a whole bunch of speakers and they had us compete, and it was like a 5-minute speech that we had to give, and I was a finalist. I was very happy. It was either a winner or nothing at all, so there was nothing like a runner-up or anything like that, but it was an honor to be even a part of this group. Upcoming events, December 8, as he said, I'll be speaking at Washington, D.C. If you are in the area, please hook up with me. I would love to chat with each and every one of you if you are in that area, of course. The Boston BI user group today, actually, the vice president of my company is going to be speaking about AI in healthcare. And that's also a sold out event. We have already 110 people registered. So if you are in Boston today and you want to catch a pizza, meet a few people, that's a good place to go. And Boston BI SQL Saturday, that's something that I'm organizing, is coming up on March 30th. So who should attend? I'm just going to go through this as quick as possible, but if you are any one of these, you'll definitely love it. So, all right, so let's see, what are we going to talk about today? So the first thing we want to know is, what do we really want to move and why do we really want to move? Do we want to move just because your president is one of the closest friends of Satya Nadella, or because the Azure project manager or the product manager for Azure is your next door neighbor? Measure the current footprint before you do anything at all. And we'll talk about what footprint means. So benchmark the current performance. I cannot tell you this enough number of times, no matter whether you're moving to cloud or you're even going from one server to another server, always benchmark your performances before you do that. Selection of the vendors, like multiple vendors for that. We will first talk about the cloud vendors that you want to select out of. Of course, Microsoft is not the only player. As you could see from past, we had AWS also show up there with the booth. We have had Google Cloud, we had Oracle Cloud, and multiple people. So how do you design the architecture, basically? So if you see, the BI is essentially based on some sort of a central data warehouse or a database, and we'll just talk about a couple of solutions that are available for us out there. How do you set up an SSRS infrastructure, which has been a real pain for a lot of people, as somebody had just suggested. SSIS, you can also set it up over there in the cloud. Just basically whatever you have on-prem, you can also have it there. You also have a lot of third-party vendors that are available for you. Then we'll also talk about, this is a slightly unique topic, but you should know about this, is copy data management. The best way to describe copy data management is that if you are a database guy and you are having a 1 terabyte database that you're backing up every day, right? At the end of 5 years, you would realize that you have chewed up approximately 5 petabytes of your storage. And yes, it's cheap, but it's not free. So we'll talk about how to avoid that and how else can we manage our copy data. So we have some new products that have come across at PASS, actually, believe it or not, and we'll talk about those too. We'll talk about security and the GDPR and the big hoopla about GDPR. So train the staff, right? I mean, definitely, if you're going to be moving to the cloud and your cloud, the Staff doesn't know what the heck it is. It's not going to be pretty. And then reassess. Also, I'll show you how to build your team. The staff is all over, but if you are going to have a project team, how do you select your project team? And unlike a lot of your on-prem projects, there's one thing you have to keep on doing in cloud is to basically keep on reassessing what you have. There are always so many new vendors. There are so many new marketplace products that are available that can make your life really easy. So we'll see what we can cover in the remaining, I would say, about 40 minutes or so. So the first thing, let's talk about this. Decide on the workflow and application that you want to move, right? So today, if you are going to be doing something as simple as, okay, I want to move my payroll application from on-prem to cloud, what will you do? The first thing that I would suggest is, okay, let's stick only to this application for now, right? Check with the vendor. Is this going to work in the cloud? Because you may have, because your CIO was flying somewhere from Boston to Seattle, and in the plane he picked up a magazine and he found out the word Azure, and then he makes the whole company run after the Azure without absolutely being mindful of what can actually work there and what will not work. So definitely check with your vendor. We are having this goal in mind. Will your application support, or will it exist peacefully in cloud with the others? So this is most important. Okay, I think if there are any CIOs or DevOps managers or business line managers here, you really want to make sure that you decide ahead of time whether this is going to be a lift and shift arrangement or just something you are actually going to write that is suitable for the cloud. And when I say you want to determine this, is that if it's going to be lift and shift, it's basically trying to run a 1965 Chevy on an Autobahn in Germany, right? So you might really have to do the overhauling of it, otherwise it will not run very well and you will have a lot of problems. And if you're eventually just going to lift and shift it, there better be a good reason why you're doing it. Chances are because you just want to show off one checkbox in your resume saying that, oh yeah, you moved stuff to the cloud. But is that good for your company? Now, when you're doing this, make sure that you decide what you're going to move and you stick to it. Because if you're not going to do that, you will end up having a huge amount of scope creep, and that can take up a lot of money. Now, what happens is that, for example, you got $1 million budget to monkey around with, right? And at the end of the day, you will find out that because you were adding too many features, too many of your machines were online for much longer, and you would have chewed up that $1 million in a month as against your 6 months of development cycle. So watch out for that. Be very sure and firm. So if somebody is trying to add more features or more applications to your existing endeavor, then you really, really, really want to make sure that you ask for more money or say no. Otherwise, you will, this is called a resume rewriting event. Okay, we spoke about lift and shift. Scope, decide that, right? Definitely, you don't want to go anywhere without defining your scope. So measure the footprint. Okay, this is really crucial for you because if you are having a 1 terabyte database, if you are having 4 CPUs or if you are having 32 CPUs on a machine that is about 3 years old, if you have 64 gigabyte RAM, say for example, I'm just tossing out some number for you, right? So if you had, say, 32 CPUs on a machine that was 3 years old, will you really need 32 cores on the Azure machine? Because Azure will have the fastest CPU, right? So you want to watch out for that because you don't want to pay for stuff that you really don't need. So instead of 32 cores, maybe you now need 8 cores or 16 cores, and that's your money saving right there. Memory, yes, definitely we don't do too much bargaining with memory. Memory is fairly cheap too. So make sure that you take care of that. So memory, and the third thing is your storage, right? So what sort of storage do you have? Like, that is number one. And number two is, what is the space that you are taking? So if you're going to be having, say, for example, 2 petabytes, are you going to go all the 2 petabytes on premium storage? If you are doing that, it's going to cost you a lot of money. Any questions so far, buddy? No. Okay, let's go. Yeah, okay. So you want to watch out that what you are moving and how much of it you are moving, right? You be extremely careful. For example, if you're going to be using, say, for some sort of a voice application that you want to move from your on-prem, you could actually have a lot of data, like 5 years worth of data, sitting on your SATA drives or something like that, a cheaper storage here for the next 5 years, and nobody would care about it. But now, if you have to move the same 5 petabytes of your audio files into the cloud, suddenly it makes a lot of money. And wait, you're paying that money by the minute, right? So you want to watch out against that. So here are some of the cloud vendors you want to talk about, which I shouldn't be talking about because this is a Microsoft kind of thing. But yes, we should be, in all fairness, looking at multiple vendors, because it's not that AWS is clean or it doesn't have issues, or that Azure doesn't have issues. All the vendors have some issues, so you want to really judiciously spread your applications between a couple of cloud vendors at least. But do not split one application between multiple vendors, but have sure that if you have Azure, then you have 5 applications in Azure, maybe 5 in Google Cloud, so that Microsoft will also feel the competition, and there are sometimes much better off. The competition itself is good enough for people to start giving you the customer service. So what do we do there? So if you're going to be moving, right, should it be the infrastructure as a service or a platform as a service? So as you can see, the amount of control that you have and administrative oversight goes up when you're using infrastructure as a service compared to platform as a service, right? And the same thing with the degree of agility and ability to deploy quickly. So this is actually quite self-explanatory, but feel free to ask questions on this. This is something from a pre-con session I attended by Megan Longoria and Melissa Coates. I had a full one-day training on how to set up your BI infrastructure in the cloud. Just pretty similar, but theirs was more hands-on. And I would definitely love for you guys to check that out too. Now, if you are creating a brand new solution, remember, lift and shift or overhaul. So overhaul means basically you're having a brand new cloud solution, then definitely go ahead and use PaaS, right? And if you want something to be turned around quickly, PaaS is the way to go. And for the rest of the reasons, right, whether if it's just a lift and shift or is something that is not available in PaaS and you require more control, blah, 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 then definitely use IaaS. And this is, if you remember, the first thing I told you is, why are you going to the cloud? Is it because your CIO just read about the word Azure in a magazine somewhere in his dentist's office or in the flight, or you have some real conviction as to why you are doing this? So you want to take the trade-offs and decisions for that, whether what is the control that you're going to have over that, what is the cost, what is the complexity of the overall infrastructure that you want to have there, the performance and the security, right? The security, this is one of the classic examples that I give to all my people and friends who are there in our SQL events and user group events, is that Microsoft has thousands of people working on their cloud security platform. It's not that they are designing a new security product that you have to buy, but they are constantly monitoring your firewall, your servers, who is trying to access your server, who is trying to hack, and they have machine learning algorithms that they work on a regular basis to keep your Azure footprint safe. Now imagine they even have a separate branch of the cloud for Department of Defense, but some of the organizations, oh yeah, cloud, I'm not going, because what about the security? Now, if you look at the security within your organization, is your infrastructure team running some sort of machine learning algorithm on the amount of hacks that are happening, or they're just purely relying on the vendor or the firewall to keep you guys safe? That is what you want to understand by way of security. So thank you, Melissa and Megan, for this awesome slide. I totally love this. So major issues that you face in the cloud, right, is the technical is like uptime guarantees. Yes, they are there, no doubt about that. You always have great performance, but the cost is something that is huge, and you have to watch out for that. Yes, the initial cost is low, but if you are not watchful, you really need to have a cloud monitor, if for better phrase. The connecting of legacy systems so far has also been a little bit of a challenge in the cloud. And I'm sure within the next 6 months or a year, they would have overcome that too. By then, this presentation would have also changed. So let me go. We'll go through this fast in the sense that, yes, you end up having to do a lot of sprawl management. As I said, you need a monitor, a person who is actually just taking care of how many people are using how many VMs. For example, yesterday I created 10 machine learning VMs for one of our projects that we are working on. And with a very strict provision that at 7 p.m., all those VMs will be shut down. So yes, we are monitoring that too. Compliance, regulations, everything you want to watch out for. Watch out for vendor lock-in, right? And one of the things that I mentioned to you earlier was, you want to watch out for, or at least have one or two vendors definitely if you're going to go into cloud. Cost of ongoing expenses is pretty high. Microsoft always says, yes, we would love for you to go to Azure, but the cost is definitely high. Please do not get fooled at all. Difficult to estimate the cost upfront. There are a lot of opportunities available for you to actually predict how much your cost will be, and it's up to the Azure monitor or the cloud monitor that you appoint for him to make sure that you are within your budget. And if they're not, people get written up for leaving their VMs open for no apparent reason. So let's go at this, right? So in the physical server environment, if you see this initial administration is high. I don't know if you can see the bottom half of the screen there properly. Can you see that, Mike?
Yep, we can see it fine.
Okay, great. So as you can see, as you move from physical to PaaS or SaaS-based, your shared lower cost is always there, lower administration is there, right? Which is kind of awesome. That is what you want to go from physical to virtual to IaaS to PaaS, right? Definitely, this is a single slide that will help you actually convince your management as to why you really want to move into cloud. But if you're going to do only lift and shift, not a great idea. So this is, I believe, from the Snowflake as a company, right? So one of the things that we want to do in cloud, what are the objectives going to be? You want to be able to manage the entire infrastructure easily. Everything in one place. It can grow faster. Now, elasticity has two different meanings, and I will share that with you a little later. And unlimited concurrency, which especially in the data warehouse phenomenon, fast elasticity and unlimited concurrency actually kind of goes hand in hand, and I will show that to you in a slide too. Okay. So what are the three major roadblocks that you face in a cloud, right? So one of the first things why you go is scaling, right? It's so difficult to get a new set of servers. For example, I placed an order with Oracle for one of our servers. It took them 6 weeks to get a simple server to us on-prem, and the server they sent us had no NIC card, and they said it will take them at least 4 more weeks to send us a NIC card. So 10 weeks of total unscalability was there for us. A lot of people work in silos, and it is difficult for people to kind of get out of their own silo and see what's in the next silo to be able to work cooperatively. And the concurrency is a bigger issue. All these three can be taken care of by moving to cloud, right? So just watch out for that. So let's look at this traditional. I don't need to spend too much time on this one here, but this is the red one is the typical inflexible database server. For example, you have a SQL server. You already invested in that, as you can see in the, let me see if I can do this for you again. So as you can see here, right, you already invested the money. Now, if you look at the usage, after the initial usage, you will find that the usage has gone down, which means that you are approximately wasting so much of your capacity for no reason. But there'll again be a time when your capacity meets with your usage, and now you actually expand, and this whole cycle over here will now repeat, in the sense that yes, you now have a higher usage, but then again there will be still a whole bunch of unused capacity. So you want to watch out against that. And this is expensive to purchase. This is not expensive to purchase, but if you are not watchful about it, the cost can go up tremendously. So all the wasted capacity and all that, nobody talks about those, but in cloud you can completely avoid those. So just watch out for that. And I have to do this, erase all drawings, and cool. So if you look at this, right, this is also from Snowflake. And one day I had a presentation here, which I told you. We have a usual problem when we are trying to work in terms of on-prem. Say, for example, you are going to process a 1 terabyte CSV file going into your database, right? Now, what happens is that maybe your infrastructure guy is nice and he will actually give you some storage which will not require a reboot for you. But what happens after that? What about the CPU? So if you have to add virtual CPUs or more memory to it, you will end up having to reboot your VM. And that's a downtime you can't afford. So if you look at this now, usually on the on-prem, you will see that most of what we do is pretty well-structured data. Maybe you have relational databases only, right? Not too much by way of anything else. By the way, I just have a quick question. Please answer here in the chat room. How much of the data that you generate on a daily basis is used for reporting or BI purposes? Can somebody give me a quick answer in the chat room here, please? I really look forward to that. And I can check it out. What are the typical answers we get here?
Can you repeat the question one more time?
Sure. The question is, say for example, you have a 1 terabyte database, right? So how much of that data is actually used for BI reporting? Okay, we have some. At least 50%. Sandy says 50%. David says 5%. Wow, so we have some enthusiasts actually. Thank you for making this interactive, folks. I really appreciate that. Vinny is saying it is 10%. Sandy, he thanks for acknowledging his name. Okay, cool. So please don't beat me up, but I think the closest person to the answer is David Kurtenbach. David, thank you. From what we have is approximately 1.5 to 2% is the max amount of data that is actually being used. So the amount of space and storage that you waste and the processing power you waste storing and maintaining all the large chunks of data, no good. So when you are going to move into the cloud, you are not going to restrict yourself only to the rows and columns of data that you have, that is mainly relational databases or spreadsheet of some sort. You will end up moving a whole bunch of data, like your CPR or the cell phone records and your streaming services and your voice and interactive and the videos. Everything will end up going into the one and only place. You can have you can store some of the raw data on your blob storage or in any other non-relational databases like NoSQL. So okay, move, cool. So the modern concurrency, right now what you do is you have one resource for many groups of many people, right? So that doesn't scale out very well. And as you can see, people, SQL analysts trying to do that, ETL and processing is also going against the same database. Data science is also, believe it or not, run against the same database. And analytics or reporting is also run against the same existing historical data. That's no good. So what Microsoft and Snowflake thought about was the Elastic Data Warehouse, for which we actually have a full 1 hour presentation, by the way. So if anybody is interested, do let us know. We will actually bring it to you. And one of the reasons why we brought up a BI-based presentation to you was that about 5 years ago, we had a Microsoft, some big shot from Microsoft came and spoke at our New England SQL Server user group, and he had forecasted that the DBA job as we know will not exist after 5 years. So now, if you look at today's world and if you look at the DBA opportunities that you see online today or any of the job boards, they will all require you to have some sort of cloud experience. They will all require you to have some sort of development experience and DevOps experience. So you have to keep your eyes and ears open for the change in what's going on in the market. So the brand new architecture that I'm talking about, right? For example, let's see this. So you have, okay, one more, sorry. So semi-structured data and structured data, they all go into the same storage, flexible storage. And you can use that with data science. You can use that with SQL queries or data transformations and BI reporting. But the important part is that this can have infinite concurrency. So how does that work? So if you look at Microsoft's SQL Data Warehouse, for example, it will actually automatically grow horizontally. So the only thing we knew in the cloud so far is that, oh yeah, you want to add 10 more CPUs or cores, here you can do that in a flash, right? Without any serious issues there. But what if those 10 CPUs that you added are not good enough for you? How would you handle that? So for that, they created these Azure data warehouses by Snowflake and Microsoft, where what it will do is that, for example, if you have one VM that has, say, 16 cores and 64 gigabyte RAM, these SQL data warehouses have the immense capability of scaling horizontally, in the sense that they will now suddenly make 60 new VMs. So now your data can be processed. So in simultaneously on 60 machines, not just one big ass machine as they call it, or PAM. It will be processed on 60 individual machines. Once that processing is done, those 59 machines will be discarded, and you have the result in one place. It's almost to the tune of that Hadoop protocol, MapReduce. So it basically spreads the processing across multiple nodes and collapses those nodes and gives you results back in the same place. So watch out for that. If you get a chance, do look out at those two opportunities, and I've showed this to you. So Azure Data Warehouse by Microsoft, right? You can have large amounts of data. Oh wait, you're already in Azure, right? So why even worry? And you need everything to go in one database, because now you are not analyzing only your rows and columns anymore. You're having audio files and you have video files that go in your Twitter streams. By the way, how many of you have already tweeted about this presentation so far? So for large chunks of transactions, this is where you want to use a data warehouse in the cloud. Not millions of small transactions, but few, but much larger transactions. It resides on premium storage. That's one thing I don't understand why, but it's okay because it helps. It's eventually data warehouse is a IO based application, so premium storage will really help. Azure Data Warehouse can actually divide your entire processing into 60 slices. So basically, for those people who are familiar with Unix, it basically is analogous to like a fork. So every time it needs a capacity, it'll just keep on adding one more machine. So here's another question, which I hope everybody can make it interactive. We processed 650 million rows of data at our SQL Data Warehouse presentation in the Boston BI user group. Can anybody give me the time estimate in which we would have processed those 650 million rows in Azure? The closest one, I can possibly give them some special gift. So if somebody can start responding, I'll really appreciate that. So the question again is, how much time do you think did it take for us to process 650 million rows into one single database? 20 minutes, Sandy, 10 minutes, 2.5 hours. Any more takers? 10 minutes, 45 minutes, cool. 2 minutes. Vinny, my friend, I think you are the one who's the closest to the answer. So I think somewhere between 2 and 5 minutes is what it took for us to process those 650 million rows, because we adopted the Azure Elastic Data Warehouse in the cloud. So please look it up. You will really enjoy that technology. If you need more information, feel free to check with me offline. You will get my contact information again towards the end of the presentation also. So thank you again, folks, for making it interactive. We still have approximately 18 minutes to go. So come on, move. Okay. So in Gen 1, you had about 100 to 6,000 data warehouse units, whereas in Gen 2, which is now very prevalent, actually, when I made this presentation about 2 months back, it was still just toying with the idea of Gen 2. And I think this is the one which I took from James Serra's presentation from Microsoft, and he said that Gen 2 is now available, and you can now have approximately 30,000 data warehouse processing units, so to speak. So Microsoft's commitment to Azure is so huge. You can see that over here. Okay, and it can have max concurrency and memory allocation and polybase reads and writes. So reporting, I think we generally know what reporting is, but I would love for you to see this one small chunk at a time. And there's one question that people always ask me, and I will try to answer that preemptively. So now reporting server or a Power BI report server, it's 60,000 damn bucks, and I'm not so big fan of spending that sort of money. But whatever you have by way of your reporting server, make sure that you have a replica of it always available in case something goes down. Now, why you need, it's just a report, right? I mean, why would you need a duplicate or a warm standby for your reporting server? Can anybody give me a quick answer? I don't need too many, just 1% or 2%. I'll tell you when I get those answers. The question is, why would you need a backup or a warm standby for your reporting server? Damn, nobody knows the answer. Oh boy, okay. So the thing is that most of what you see on your reporting server is historical reporting. And guess who uses that? Mostly your HR people, your finance people, the guys who actually write your check, right? And for them, you really need to have this thing, or your paycheck or your vendor's check or whatever it is. So you want it for that. Now, the types of data that it can handle: OLTP, data warehouse, analysis service, SharePoint, data lake, right? Something new. Oh my God, big data. You can keep on doing that. Just arrows. If anybody wants to know how to animate those arrows, I can help them too. So SharePlex or Golden Gate as another vendor who's offering a similar product. So here's the reason why. You remember I was talking to you about copy data management as one of the first slides, one of the things we will cover. So the thing is that a company like Quest Software, which makes the SharePlex, or Golden Gate, which is data availability group people, what they do is that they can actually help translate or transfer any SQL database that, mostly we are talking about SQL in this case, but it could be Oracle too. And you can actually convert those databases into low-cost databases like MySQL or legacy products like Oracle, for example. So the idea being that if you are going to spend, say, another $40,000, $50,000 or $60,000 on a SQL server to make your reporting, which is usually using only 1.5 to 2% of your data, why spend so much money on SQL Server? Instead, you can use technologies like SharePlex or Golden Gate to convert your SQL Server into MySQL database and then run your queries against those databases, which will be very cheap for you. And then yes, whenever you have an OLTP and a data warehouse, make sure that you have a good MDM/MDS solution in place. I have yet to come across a good, solid MDM product. Microsoft has not done too much with MDS, so you can forget about Microsoft. But what is that? Informatica's MDM product rules the roost right now, and it's a pain in the wrong side. All I can tell you is that. So from my previous experience. Now, where does the data go to? So it goes into any of these following formats, like the email or file share or Power BI or your cell phone, browser, and it can go into these formats. So the formats are PDF, XML, whatever, right? So now let's go to SSIS, which is a similar slide. If I can go through this quickly. Right? The same reason why you want to have your SQL SSIS server to have a duplicate if you are going to be using that in the cloud. Right, and you can take any of these inputs, right, and process that, and the output can be given to you. So if it is a big data or Hadoop-based data ingest, you can actually have the output into Jaspersoft or ToolServe or Framework or Talent or anything like that. And if it is an on-prem kind of solution that you had, something like SQL Server Management Studio or SQL Server Data Tools, or just a simple import and export will also work. So you can use your SSIS in the cloud to get this thing done. There's somebody. Okay. Let me go further. So this is how an overall infrastructure would look like. Only thing that I couldn't change here, it says company network, but it would now be your Azure backbone. And the idea is basically you have multitudes of database servers, you have your input coming from your cloud, you have big data input, for example, you have analysis services, everything coexisting in that one single subscription that you have. Make sure that even in the cloud you have your DQS or the data quality services running so that you don't pay for stupid costs for storing data that you don't really need. And the output can be in any of the formats that is shown on the left side, right? You can Power BI, SSMS, wherever, or even individual who has access, they can even use Oracle querying tools or reporting tools to go into our infrastructure and pick up the data to report. So let's just look it up, and I'm going to go through this slightly faster, and I will show you what this means, right? So if you remember, one of the things that I told you as a part of your strategy should be to reassess everything that you do, right? It's very crucial, okay? So, okay. So somebody just said your Microsoft is cutting in and out. Sorry about that. Thank you for pointing out. So the gardeners, the first thing you want to do is garner an executive buy-in, because without their blessings, you will not be able to get your project off the ground. Define what you want to do ahead of time. There's a concept of LOFT, which is luck, opportunity, frustration, and threat in every single project that you carry out. So make sure that you know what your opportunity, your frustrations, and your threats would be ahead of time. Lay a very solid foundation. Use agile methodology and tools that will support the agile methodology for you to have a very quick turnaround of your projects. Keep on inventing and keep on innovating all the time. And every 6 months or a year, keep on reassessing whether there are new products available, anything that can help you cut down the cost further, make your project more successful. I have a quick question. You can take 5 minutes to answer that. But what are the 3 or 4 top criteria to determine that your BI project was a success? How do you define if your BI project was a success? Take your time, think about it, and write it up as we go on to the next slide. So remember, when you're doing this, define your scope, otherwise the scope creep will kill you. So security, this is just like telling the obvious, but you want to be very sure that you tell the necessary people. It's lack of security is not just bad for your company, but it could even land you up in the wrong side of the law. So be very sure. Use the words like GDPR, and it's enough to scare a lot of people in your company. So involve people why security is important. I cannot tell you when I how many of you have walked into an office where the SA password is actually scribbled on your whiteboard, right? And but they will not share it with you if you ask them. Oh yeah, you can't know because you're a new DBA in town. You can't know the SA password. But this is known to everybody on the floor, which is kind of weird. So train your people on security, right? Audit, for example, create a new trigger or something like that on your SQL servers. Make sure if there is any change in an existing login or if somebody creates a new login, appropriate people are made aware of it. So, and then keep on reassessing, re-auditing security. That's the only thing that will really, I think most of the expense now going forward over the next 2 to 5 years is going to be on security. So if you're a DBA who is only happy with, creating replication and availability groups and not thinking of security, please reconsider that. So let's see, some people have responded. I will see adoption, cost savings, portable, low learning curve, customer sign off, requirements are met, definition of done. Yeah, good one, Nunal and Kevin and Greg. Good answers there, right? So let's see, because I actually have a Gartner's report and I will share the book also from where I got it from, and you might want to look it up. So users, the same exact thing. We don't have too much time, but again, equip them with tools, train them, work with them. Don't think that select star from users table where clue greater than zero, zero rows turned, right? Users are not losers, right? That's a four-letter word. I mean, so on and so forth, all the jokes. But without their blessings and collaboration, your project will bomb. I can tell you that 100%. So the same thing goes with not just the users but even the project team that you're going to assemble for this. Make sure that you have every single stakeholder involved in that. Okay, because how many times you find out that the DBA is brought in to the picture at the last end, just like somebody who runs the script, not necessarily taking their input. And at the time when you take their input and they give their input, they are considered as throwing a wrench in the wheel of progress, right? And you don't want to do that. So you want to be a prudent project manager of your own BI project and involve as many people ahead of time as possible. Let them drop out if they don't want to contribute, but at least you have made your best effort to make this thing successful. Okay, give me one sec. Yeah, I think so. The overwhelming answers we get is user adoption, right, and return on investment, success through collaboration, etc. Yes, so let's go on with this. Okay, we have 6 more. I wanted to leave a few questions, things for question and answer. So copy data management, right? One of the things I wanted to share with you is that these are now available in the Azure Marketplace. What you could do is you can actually go ahead and if you have a 1 terabyte database, you don't have to take a 1 terabyte database backup every day. You can actually use this copy data management tools, and you can actually have literally zero footprint on your backups. So if a 1 terabyte database over 5 years results in approximately 2 petabytes of your storage, using appropriate copy data management tool, you can actually cut it down to maybe 20 terabytes as against 2 petabytes, and that's a lot of savings. But some of these softwares that you see here also actually help you give a virtual copy of your existing database, which will help you cut down a lot of storage costs. For example, if you are having a production server and in the morning you are presenting your databases to reporting, DevOps, integration, environment, and so on, you can actually use some of these tools to give them a virtual copy, which means that you're not using any more storage. And you don't have to worry about, oh, geez, which server am I going to put it to, because it just gives it to them as a virtual copy. So definitely look this up. Again, if you need any more information on this, feel free to reach out to me. I worked as a product manager for this. But remember, this is the product measure. How do you measure the success success of your BI project. So this is how you measure. So better access to data, increasing operational efficiency. Am I better off in my day-to-day business, and does it support all the stakeholders, right? So in a way that the ROI is there, but the most important thing was two, right? The better access to data and increased operational efficiency. So let me continue, okay? I don't have much time for the SQL data warehouse here, but let's just look at it. So what you want is that the typical SQL data warehouse will be multiple types of data ingested, stored, prepped, and then served, right? And there are multiple ways of serving them. So what you want to do is, in a big data scenario, the situation of ETL is now changed to ELT. What you do is extract the data, load it first, and then transform it, as against ETL, which is extract, transform, load. So there's one more thing. This is for here, and the other one is for real-time analytics if you're using it. I wanted to leave a couple of questions there, so I'm not going to go through too much deep here, but let's go through this for. Okay, so recommendations for you, okay? Always have one or more strategies for your BI infrastructure. Summarize the results and see if they go as planned. What to do next? Identify the action items that you have for that. So today, just going through this quickly, these are the few things that we covered for you, right? Training the staff and reassessing all the time. Now we have like 2 minutes for questions.
Okay.
This question is a good time. Yeah, sure.
There's a couple questions. One is in your experience, what are some of the key reasons that migrations to the clouds strategies fail? I know you had the 5 there reasons, why it succeeds, but why Correct. They may not necessarily just be the inverse of those, right?
So if I can actually show you that, the first thing you want to do is, did you define what your success is, right? And the thing is that, did you define ahead of time what you are going to do? If you're going to move only one application, but you end up, dragging 5 other applications with you, you are setting yourself up for failure. So if that scope is changing, that is your thing. The other primary reason is, and I can actually get out of here, one sec. Let me show you this, and this might actually add more value to what I was just telling you. Is this the one? No. Yeah. Check with the vendor. Does it work or not? Are you overhauling it or just lift and shift? Lift and shift projects work great, right? And define the failure, right? When you say fail, they fail in what way? Did you make an analysis of what failed? Or you just think that because the results were not achieved, it has failed? If you look into it deeper, most of the time you will find is scope is the biggest issue. 2, lack of buy-in from your users. So if you are having a team which is not trained on the use of cloud, if you are using your on-prem skills to run a cloud application, it is going to fail. I can absolutely promise. So if you're not readying your team to handle the challenges from the next generation, you will fail. And yes, cost. If you don't have a cost monitor or an Azure monitor or a cloud monitor who is constantly looking at what you are spending, you will fail. So I hope that answers. It's at the bottom of it's the hour now. What are the biggest challenging to automating data warehouse operations in the cloud? Land, load, transform, and present. There are always a lot of moving pieces. I think in absence, Greg has asked this question. It's a great question. All I can give you the fastest answer is that if you have not hired the right people, this is one of the biggest challenges you will always face, because the people who have worked on-prem are not aware of the elastic data warehouses and stuff like that. So they will keep on asking you to get you a machine which like 2 terabyte RAMs and so on, but that doesn't help the concurrency part of it. So I hope, Greg, that answers your question. We are at 1 o'clock. I think we should call it a day now, but people feel free to tweet about this presentation, good, bad, ugly, whatever it is. I look forward to your honest suggestion. These are the, what do you call them? bibliography of what I did today, where I got my information from. And this is my contact information. Do tweet about me, and follow past DBA virtual chapter as well. So thank you, everyone. And Mike, thank you for being the moderator and handling the questions so gracefully, my friend. And hope to see you one of these days soon.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We look forward to you in future sessions. Have a great.
Somebody just came up with a question. Thanks. Oh my God. Thanks, Greg. Appreciate your time, man. Bye. Bye, everyone.